Okay, so area of compound shapes. Now, compound shapes are shapes that are, well, okay, we'll come to that in a minute. Let's do a little bit of warm-up first of all, which is this. I want you to calculate the area of each of these shapes, please. There's a rectangle, a triangle, and another triangle. Off you go. Pause the video, work it out, write it down. Don't forget your units and unpause when you are done. Okay, cool. So the rectangle. Now I've even left the formula at the top there to remind you. The area is length times by width, which would be, the length is sort of one complete side and the width is the other complete side. It doesn't actually matter which way round you do them, as long as you have this kind of L shape that covers the whole, length and width of the shape. And it's 18, but the units are centimeters squared because we're doing area. It's a 2D shape. We've done centimeters times centimeters, so there's always a way of remembering. Right, triangle, base times height, divide by 2, but there's 3 dimensions here. Well, so base times height, divide by 2. Well, we don't want slopey sides. You always want the height of the mountain right from the top straight through it to the bottom, so from top of the mountain down to sea level. So that's this dimension here. It should also make a right angle with the base, which it does. So my base is 4, so width all the way across. The height is 5, and then we halve it. Always halve it for a triangle. So that's 20 divided by 2, which is 10. And it's all centimeters again. So centimeters squared, because it is area. Again, the height of this triangle would be the height directly up from the base straight to the top, which in this case is 10, even if it's sort of drawn a bit funny. We want base times height divided by 2, so 6 is my base, my height is 10, and then I halve it. 6 times 10 is 60, divided by 2 is 30, and it is centimeters squared, okay? Right, so don't forget to mark your work. It's really important. I keep getting work through that hasn't been marked, so, show me that it's been looked at and corrected if necessary. So let's go on to these compound shapes. A compound shape, or composite shape as they're sometimes called, is a shape made from 2 or more other shapes. Okay, that's quite often for us it'll be like an L shape, so it might be one rectangle stuck together with another rectangle. But of course when it's drawn, the lines joining the shapes aren't usually there. All right, so that's what you mean by composite shape. It also might be, say, a rectangle with a triangle on top. All together, that is a composite shape. So let's remember how to find missing lengths. Now this is important because when we've got these L shapes, sometimes they don't give us some of the lengths, and so we have to figure them out. So here's a video. I showed it before, but I think it's worth looking through it again. So listen up, because this guy is really cool. So here we have a compound shape. Now a compound shape is a shape made up of more than one kind of block, and essentially this is made up of 2 rectangles put together to make a kind of L shape, and you'll notice there are a couple of missing sides on here. Now let's highlight the some horizontal ones. First of all, we're going to try and find that purple one at the top there, that question mark. Now because it's kind of made up of rectangles. Now we know with rectangles that the opposite side of a rectangle is equal, yeah? The sides that are facing each other are equal. Now if I just take those 2 lines, that green line and that purple line, and I sort of drag them down to the bottom of my shape, you can see that together they make up the total width of the shape. Now I've got the total width of the shape, and it's 6. And so if I sort of take that back up, I know that the purple part and the green part must add up together to make 6, which means, of course, that the purple part must be 3. Okay, and I can do a similar thing with the other side as well. If I take these 2 sides, the red side and the blue side, and I sort of drag them across, you can see when they reach the left-hand side, together they make up the total height of the shape. So the 2 and the 1 work together to make up the total height. So the total height must be 3. And that's how we can find missing sides in these compound shapes. Right, but he is awesome, isn't he? He is great. I wonder who he is. Let's move on. So let's calculate the missing sides and then the area of each shape. So there is my shape, and I'm going to possibly calculate some missing sides if necessary. On this one, do I need to? I'll tell you, the first thing we're going to do is actually cut our shape into two. Now I could cut it down here, or I could cut it across here. For the sake of this, I'm just going to cut it across here. And I'm going to label one part A, and I'm going to label the other part B. Okay, so I'm going to work out the area of A and then the area of B. Now remember, we've now got two rectangles. Now if I'm working out the area of a rectangle, I need to have a sort of L shape that encompasses the full length and the full width of my shape. I don't want to be using 7, because look, 7 is A and B. All I'm working out at the moment is the size of A. So I've got my width, which is 4, but I need to have my height. Now, part of the height of my shape is 3, and then this would make up the second part, wouldn't it? Now, the whole height is 7, which means this must be 4, because 3 and 4 makes up the full height of 7. So actually, this is a square in this top corner. 4 times 4 is 16 centimeters squared. Now, B, that's down here. I need the full length again. Oops. And a full height covering both sides. And actually, I've got both of these dimensions. I've got 9 for the length, and I've got 3 for the height of this bottom rectangle. Let's put the lines going the other way. Just you don't have to shade it in, but just trying to show you what I'm doing. So the area of B is 3 times 9, which is 27 centimeters squared. And so the total area is both of those added together. 6 and 7 makes 13, so I carry the 1. 1 and 2 is 3, plus the other one makes 4. So the area of my shape is 43 centimeters squared. Okay, your turn, right? I'm going to break it into two shapes, two rectangles. I'm going to make this one easy for you, or easier. You don't actually need to find any missing sides on this one. If you cut it here, call this bit A, this bit B, you won't need to do any finding of missing sides. So anyway, pause, find the total area of the shape, unpause when you're done. We have unpaused, or rather you have unpaused, because I didn't pause at all. A, so we need the length and the width, so an L shape that goes all the way along both sides of my rectangle, which is this rectangle here that I'm trying to find. Now the length is 2, and the width in this case, sorry, one is 10, one is 2. Yeah, so the length is 2, I was trying to say, and the width is 10. Yeah, whichever. Anyway, those two, which when you multiply them together, you get 20 centimeters squared. I'm getting myself all tied up there. I meant to change pen on the last one, I forgot. So let's do it now. So now I want the area of B, just this section down here. Now B, again, I don't want 8, because like 8 is all of this length. That's going to be wrong, because it's all part of A. I only want, say, that part and that part, because that's an L shape that completely sort of covers the 2 dimensions of my rectangle. Now one of those is 6 and the other is 4, so length times width, 6 times 4, which is 24 centimeters squared. And then we're going to go for the total area, because I haven't found the actual answer yet. No, I don't want to write in white, we'll never see it. Let's go for that. Right, so add those two together. 0 and 4 makes 4, 2 and 2 also makes 4, 44 centimeters squared for the whole shape. Okay, hope this is making sense. Let's do another one. Okay, so this one, let's change back to blue. I've got 2 rectangles here. If I cut it across, I think wherever I cut it, I'm going to have to do a bit of work maybe. Or maybe, actually, if we cut it here, and we'll call this one A. We'll call the bigger one B. And I'm going to find the area of A. Now remember, I can't use 5, because 5 is A and B all together. I sort of just need part of this. That's the full width of my rectangle. That's the full sort of length of my rectangle, or height. 2 times 3. is 6 centimeters squared for that little rectangle. And then B, let's have a look at this one. Again, I want the full width, which is 3. And the full sort of length or height, whatever you want to call it. So an L shape that completely encompasses B, because it's all the way along that side of B, all the way along that side of B. So 3 times 7 is 21 centimeters squared. Add those two together. 27 centimeters squared is the total area of my shape. Your turn again. So break it. I'm not going to break it for you this time. You can do it whichever way you want to break your shape, either that way or that way, whatever you think is easiest. And then find the area. Unpause when you're done. You have unpaused. Great. Let's do... which way should I cut it? I'm going to cut it this way. I'm going to call this bit A and this bit B. Now A, I need, again, full length and width of my rectangle. So those two sides would completely sort of encompass the 2 dimensions of my rectangle. So 4 times 8 is 32. I couldn't have used the 9 because the 9 goes across A and B. That's no good to me. Oh, remember it's centimeters squared. Right, B. We want this shape now. I've got my length, or width, whatever you want to call it. Even if I can't draw a straight line, I've still got that, which is 10. Now again, we said we can't use 9 because that's B and A together. I just want to know how long this length is here. Now the whole height is 9, and the height of A is 4. So whatever's left over must be the height of B, and it's 5, because 5 and 4 makes 9. Now 10 times by 5 is 50. 50 and 32 makes 82, that's supposed to say, centimeters squared. 82 centimeters squared is what you're after there. Cool, okay. A little bit trickier then. 2 more, do them straight off. Off you go, break them into 2 and see what you get. Remember, you might break them into slightly different shapes than I might. So your answers might be slightly different to mine. Oh, well, no. Your answer will be the same. The final answer will be the same, but the 2 rectangles might be slightly different. Okay? But anyway, off you go. Cool. God, took a long time, didn't it? Right, I'm going to cut this shape across here. Call this one A, this one B. Now, you may have cut it from there up. There's no need to cut it into more rectangles than 2, but you might have just cut it up there to have 1 small one, then 1 large one. I've cut it like this. Now A would be, well, the width is 8 and the length is 3, so to get all of my shape. So 8 times by 3 is 24 centimeters squared. So that's all of this bit that I've just found. Then I need to find B, which is the bottom one. The sort of width of it is 3, the length is 5. So I don't need to find any missing sides if I cut it that way round, which is 15. So again, if you cut it the other way, you might have different answers here. But the important thing is that when you add it all together, you should always get the same answer. So your final answer should be 39 centimeters squared. Right, now this one we are going to have to cut. There are a couple of ways of doing it. I'm going to show you the way where we cut it into 3 different rectangles. So I think it would make sense to cut it there and there. And we'll have A, B, and C. Now B is pretty easy, so maybe we'll do that one first. Because I want my rectangle, and I've got my sort of width of it, and I've got my length of it. I've got the 2 dimensions, so 3 times by 3 equals 9 centimeters squared. Now this one's a bit harder. A, let's go to red pen. A, which is all of this. Now I've got the sort of width of it, or height, whatever you want to call it, but I know we're low on power, Mac. You don't need to tell me. I just need to plug it in. Yeah, so I've got the 5. I've got that whole width of it. What I haven't got is the other dimension, because I only want to go as far as that. I want to stop before I get to the next rectangle, okay? So 6 is all the way across, so that's no good to me. I just want to know how far it is across that part there. Now this one, I already know from this rectangle is 3 centimeters. Now the whole thing is 6, which means that this must be 3 centimeters as well. So A is 5 and 3. 5 times by 3, presuming you cut it the same way that I did. Not that it matters if you did it another way, it's just your initial answers will be different. Now 3 to there, which means this one is 3 as well, and that's both sides of C. Oh, we should change colour, shouldn't we? Let's go for the horrible magenta. So one side and the other side. Yeah, that's a really horrible pen. So C is 3 times by 1, which is 3 centimeters squared. Okay? Add those together. 15 and 9 is 24. Add another 3 is 27 centimeters squared. Is what you should be after there. Cool. Coolio. Remind me never to say that again. Okay, what about if it's not rectangles though? We can do this with other shapes as well. Now you can see on here that we've got a rectangle at the bottom, and I've got a triangle at the top, and I've got the height of my triangle, which is 3. Let's call that T for triangle. Let's call this R for rectangle. The area of my rectangle will be 4 times 6, which is 24 centimeters squared. And the area of my triangle, remember, base times height divided by 2. Well, the base is 6, isn't it? So you can see it's the same as the bottom of that rectangle. The height is 3, and then we halve it because it's a triangle. 6 times 3 is 18, divided by 2 is 9 centimeters squared. So my total, 24 plus 9, is 33 centimeters squared. So you do sometimes, obviously, you might need to use a different shape, but that's fine. Just break it into those shapes. Use the formula appropriate for that shape, so like the triangle, for example, and then add it all together at the end. Your turn, 2 more, and then we're off to Dr. Frost. Okay, cool. So triangle, height of the triangle is 3, and the width is 7. It says so on the bottom there. So T for triangle. We've got base times by height divided by 2. So that's 21 divided by 2 is 10.5. Oh, we've got 0.5 on here, but that's fine. Doesn't matter. And then R for rectangle. That would be 7, but it's not times by 8 because 8 is the full height. I just need to know the height of the rectangle. If the whole thing is 8, the triangle is 3, the rectangle must be 5, because 3 plus 5 makes 8. So base times height, divide by 2. 7 5s are 35. Divide that by 2 to get, I believe, 17.5. Yeah, 17.5. And then we're going to add our 2 composite bits together to make one big bit. 28 centimeters squared. Okay, let's put a wiggly line down, get a different color pen so we know that it's definitely different working out. Okay, this shape, again, it's actually a shape called a trapezium, this, because we've got 2 parallel sides, but we'll do those next time. Let's deal with it as a triangle, a right angle triangle, and a rectangle. Now, T for triangle, R for rectangle. Now, the rectangle is pretty easy, isn't it? Because that's going to be 10 times by 8 is 80 centimeters squared. But triangle, let's see, we need base times height. Now, the base is 10, so I can take that from the rectangle down there. It's the same width as the rectangle. And the height, well, if the height of this bit is 8 and the total height is 12, it must be the difference between the two. It must be 4 centimeters for the triangle. So 10 times 4, and then halve it. 10 fours are 40, divided by 2 is 20. Come on, computer, why are we not writing? Centimeters squared. Add them all together for the total, which is 100 centimeters squared. Cool, hope you got that right. So off to Dr. Frost with you. Areas of composite shapes, I believe it is. Try and work out, find any missing sides you need, work out the areas to all of those. Okay, if you need a bit of help, go back over it or email me or do whatever you need to do. But let's get through it and get loads done because you are awesome. You can do this. Yeah, maths. Right, cool. Bye-bye.